Alright, in this video we're going to go over the recent deck that I drafted at draft night for Dominaria United, and let's get into it. So, first card we're pulling out here, just one of the dual lands, Radiant Grove. I was splashing green, so I threw that in there to kind of assist with that. Had some kicker of green, so didn't get to use that too much, but it was there. Next on the list, Joint Exploration. So it's an instant, 1 in a blue. Now this has kicker of green, just talked about that. Has scry 2, then draw a card. If the spell was kicked, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So I really never used the kicker, like I said, and this kicker seemed very situational. Scry 2 and a draw card, that's a great ability, you know, 1 in a blue to do it. Really enjoyed that card, just helping me get into my deck. Alright, next up, Phyrexian Missionary. So, 1 in a white, creature, Phyrexian Human Cleric, kicker of 1 in black with lifelink. When Phyrexian Missionary enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. I like this card a lot. It's a cheap, it's tough, 2/3. You can kick it and, you know, get a little bit of a graveyard effect. And it had lifelink. I like this card a lot. Unfortunately, I only had the one, so I didn't get to play it too much. But definitely enjoyed that card. Tolarian Geyser. I've talked about this in my other video. 2 in a blue and kicker of white. I love this card. I love it because you get 3 effects in one, and it's only for 4 mana. That is a real deal, and opponents always get annoyed with this. And rightly so. I would get annoyed with that card too. Alright. Next up, Defiler of Faith. Now, I do love the art on this card. This card is cool. Defiler of Faith. Looks like it really should be a black card, but it's a white. So, 3 and 2 white, sorry. Creature Phyrexian Human is rare. Has Vigilance. As an additional cost, you may pay 2 life. Those spells cost 1 white mana less to cast if you paid life in this way. This effect only reduces the amount of white mana you pay. Whenever you cast a white permanent spell, create a 1/1 white creature token. So this card, honestly, was not smart include. I was not strong in white. I mean, we did just have Phyrexian Missionary, but it wasn't that many permanent white spells for me to really benefit from the effects of this, and then it ends up just being a 5 mana 5/5, and you know, it's a bit costly for being just a 5 mana 5/5 with Vigilance. Tolarian Terror. Now, really enjoyed this card, especially, I think I had an opportunity. I think I played it for just 2 mana at one point, and that was awesome. Ward 2, just a really general good card, especially if you're running a lot of instants and sorceries in your deck. Crystal Grotto, did want to include one of those. I'm trying to ease off of them. I really like the Scry and the Mana Fixing, although the Mana Fixing does come at a cost. Don't need too many, especially in limited format of only 40. Oh, my cat's crying. I gotta go open the door. There you go, little kitty. Alrighty. What's up, little boy? And up next, Phyrexian Warhorse. So I just heard that this card was good, so I tried to include it, even though I really can't see the value, but I am just a noob who's really into Magic, so we're figuring that out. So 3 and a black, Phyrexian Horse, kicker of white. When Phyrexian Warhorse enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. And then you also can spend 1, sacrifice another creature, and it gets the Warhorse gets +2/+1 until end of turn. So that's nice. Nice finisher if you need to chip in some extra damage in order to finish out the game. I did not really use it for anything more than what it was. Alright. Dual land, white and blue. Idyllic Beachfront comes in tapped. Needed to include that. Up next, Balduvian Atrocity. So Balduvian Atrocity is 2 and a black with kicker of red, has Menace. When enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So that would be insane if it got to stay on the field, but it doesn't. It does gain haste though, so you'd really be wanting to pair this with creatures with... My cat is trying to get on here. Kitty, relax. Alright. Sorry for my cat's interruption. Belduvan Atrocity. Okay, you got Menace. Up next. Charismatic Vanguard. So 2 and a white for a Dwarf Soldier. 4 and a white, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. So this is amazing for the go-wide decks, and I feel that from white, the token decks. I have not built one of those decks. I have not gone against one of those decks. I would love to see this card come to play in one of those decks for a final attack, but have not seen that yet. It doesn't seem easy to do that. Just another dual land up next. We got Contaminated Aquifer. That's blue and black, comes in tapped. Was running that. Trying to get some of the domain effects for some of these cards. Have not come across those yet, though. We did have some. Sunlit Marsh, again, another dual land, white and black, comes in tapped. Tolarian Geyser, we've talked about that one. Just amazing card, 3 for 1. Ability. Alright, Ratadrabik of Urborg. So it's 2 and white and black. Legendary creature, zombie wizard. It has vigilance, ward 2. Basically, whenever other zombies you control also have vigilance, and whenever another legendary creature you control dies, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's not legendary, and it's a 2/2 black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. So that's an okay ability. I think it's very niche. I did not run that niche in this deck. I'm not sure exactly why I included it. Playing 4 for a 3/3 with vigilance. Actually, the ward 2 does kind of make it nice in that regard. I felt like this meta is very removal heavy, so I didn't get much play. It did hold the line for me for a little bit, but yeah. Up next, Destroy Evil. So this is 1 and a white for an instant that you get to choose one from. Destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater. Destroy target enchantment. Didn't run into too many enchantment problems, but you know, when I was playing against the Defender deck, it felt like every Defender had toughness 3, and this was just so annoying to have in my deck. So I definitely sideboarded it out in between matches with the Defender deck. And, you know, in other situations, if you're going against green, this might be nice, but I had a bad taste in my mouth from the Defender deck, even though this is probably a good card. I just didn't have the best luck with it. Moving on. Tattered Apparition, 3 and a black, creature, shade, flying. A 1 and a black, it gets a 1/1, +1/+1 until end of turn. So this was nice. I put it up in the air. It's a little costly to get up in the air for just being a 2/2 flyer, but you know, you can pump it. That costs money too. And yeah, it didn't really do much for me, I'll say that. This card looks better than it is, I'll say that. And by looks, I just mean really the artwork, because it was really cool looking and I wanted to include it. Up next, we have an enchantment. Braid's Frightful Return. So 2 and a black with read ahead. Chapter 1, you may sacrifice a creature. If you do, each opponent discards a card. I was not running a sacrifice deck, so I usually skip that. I feel like that exchange in of itself is not great. 1 card for 1 creature. Number 2, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. I suppose 1 and 2 go well together for ETB effects. I did not have that many of those, though, in this deck, so again, wasn't inclined to start at 1. It was nice for situations where they did take out the bomb, and I needed to get that back. This was able to dig into the graveyard a bit for that. Target opponent may sacrifice a non-land, non-token permanent. If they don't, they lose 2 life, and you draw a card. This was nice, although I did have about a 50-50 split between when they were electing to give me a card and have them lose 2 life. Moving on. Voda Sea Scavenger. So this is 2 and a white for a creature, Merfolk Rogue. This has domain, so when it enters the battlefield, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of basic land types among lands you control. You may put one of those lands on top of your library. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I really did love this card. This was basically Impulse as a creature, though. So as far as value, really like that. Up next, Banalish Sleeper. So I think I was checking out 17 lands before I went to this draft, and I saw that this card was high on there. It is 1 and a white for creature, Phyrexian Human Soldier. So a lot of different archetypes there. Kicker of black. When Banalish Sleeper enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, each player sacrifices a creature. So this is nice for having the cards that can actually come back from the graveyard. You know, might be a little slow to get. If you don't have token creatures, you know, might be a little slow if you're sacrificing anything else. Probably wouldn't then. But as a 3/1, it was nice to have that attacker, especially for having one other creature within the list. Let's see. Protect the Negotiators. We talked about this card previously. Really enjoyed how it is 1 and a blue for being able to counter a target spell. Unless basically you're giving this spell ward for any counter. Well, no, they can straight up counter this, but basically the spell is able to be so cheap because you have to have creatures in order for it to work. So it is a little situational in that sense. It does not work if you don't have creatures. I did run into that problem before. Your only hope really there is if your opponent is tapped out. Alright, Aggressive Sabotage. That is 2 and a black with kicker red. Target player discards 2 cards. If the spell was kicked, it deals 3 damage to that player. I included this. I'm not sure why. I did not use this card. I did not like when I had this card in hand, and I did not like when I drew this card. In the right deck, in the discard deck, mill deck, this could be good, obviously, but that was not this deck. I do not know why I included that. Next is Bortuk Bone Rattle. So this was 4 and a black and green. My favorite 2 combinations. Legendary creature, Troll Shaman. Just a really cool creature in general without actually thinking about what it does. So let's talk about what it does. It's domain. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, choose target creature card in your graveyard. Return that card to the battlefield. If its mana value is less than or equal to the number of basic land types among lands you control. Otherwise, put it into your hand. So another way to get into the graveyard, but this card was extremely expensive. I mean, this is my only 6 mana card, I'm pretty sure, and I don't think I ever played it. Probably because of that reason. But yeah, cool card in general. All right. The Cruelty of Gix. So 3 and a black with read ahead. So chapter 1 is an enchantment saga. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a creature or planeswalker card from it, and that player discards that card. That was nice. Just if you had time to burn, you can start there. I did not, so I skipped that. Search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, and then shuffle. You lose 3 life. So basically, you're paying 5 mana and 2 life for a tutor, which